Welcome to this week's BTO talk. Markus, nice to see you again. How are you?
Hello, Michael. Good to see you. I'm good. Thank you very much. Much to talk about. Let's get started. What are the news?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we'll keep it very short to 10, 12 minutes only today, but we have some exciting news and some really interesting questions coming up out of our workshops, out of our work around generative AI. So stay on until the end. I'm calling from Lisbon, helping companies really to embrace the generative AI journey individually and as an organization. And what I want to start with is some news from this week. You might have heard about Anthropic. Yeah, it's another major LLM model next to OpenAI. And they came up with the next version, which is called Claude. So the French Claude, version 3, which comes actually in 3 subversions. So from good and cheap to very good and not so cheap, or a bit more expensive. It's all relative, obviously, for what you get. So, and what is fascinating, you probably heard about that. There's kind of these measurements on all kind of different tasks where they compare the different LLM models, from understanding to writing text to mathematical formulas and everything else, coding and whatever there is. And what is really fascinating, this new model beats OpenAI on every single metric. So the best one, not the least, well, the third version, that's quite good. That's comparable then to 3.5, which most of you use, except of those who also follow our recommendation to get the premium version, the 4 version, because that is a significant difference. So this is massive. So you already have now a model which is better than everything else. Do you have to switch? Well, no. So read the newsletter, but I wanted to share this information because it shows, again, the speed of development. So that's the tech news. Over to you, Markus.
Yeah, that's good. That's great news, and it's interesting that what we call the war for supremacy in OpenAI or in Gen AI is on, and it's there will be competitors coming over the next few months and getting stronger and stronger. Well, I've been spending my week in the healthcare industry, more particular in the pharmaceutical and healthcare distribution business. So not manufacturing, but distribution to hospitals, to pharmacies, and to the private sector. And it was quite interesting that Gen AI is seen as an urgent topic, but it has not been discovered as a game changer yet. But once we discussed the opportunities in a session about where could Gen AI actually move the needle, we identified efficiencies, of course, in supply chain management, in predictive forecasting for demand, in customer centricity and end-to-end customer journey, in really using it for marketing, in omni-channel marketing, and of course, then finally in optimizing your entire business model with doing more with less people. Interesting enough, what I found very compelling was that healthcare distribution organizations like this one I work with, they're doing a lot of business with government as well. Mm-hmm. And the government in this particular country where I was, which was Saudi Arabia, is the main driver of Gen AI and digitalization in the country. It is the biggest employer, apart from probably the government itself. And it is owning every hospital in Saudi Arabia.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So nowadays they are planning to privatize the sector, and then AI and Gen AI will help the privatization because they want to be much more market oriented and customer and patient centric. So sometimes it actually can be a government initiative to drive automatization, digitalization, and Gen AI, Michael.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing. It's really interesting. A couple of comments and builds on that. Yes, I think if you have forward-thinking governments, they can really make a difference. So they can really bring this country, to the forefront. And because it's so significant, the impact that has, I see that as a major opportunity, especially for a lot of the smaller countries like Singapore, where you are, like Portugal, where I am. They're really pushing kind of the technology, or Estonia, to take another one. And then you have other countries who are a lot slower. So I think there's a real interesting opportunity to drive that agenda and be at the forefront and really gain a competitive advantage. That's one. What is also interesting, I actually read the summary of a PwC study in Switzerland, and it shows actually interestingly that Switzerland is ahead in generative AI applications already, with a few other smaller countries. And especially because there are a lot of companies in the financial industry, obviously, but also pharma. There's big pharma companies, less distribution, but actually manufacturing and research and development. And there's a lot of opportunity. So those organizations in high cost countries, with high labor intensive, that's kind of obviously where a lot of the benefits are potentially. So that's quite interesting. So any thoughts on kind of these developments?
I think it's interesting that we mentioned governments today, and usually they are not the fastest responding. But as you highlight, some countries are really taking advantage of that, and the two countries you mentioned, Switzerland and Singapore, are certainly ahead of that. So I guess this is what we want to highlight today, that we really not only look at the private sector, but also at the government sector, or the B2B2G sector, or the B2B2C. If you think of it from a marketing side, Gen AI will help you to go from B2B to B2B2C, because you will collect data directly from your end patients or customers, and you will be able to personalize information and data for them in the future.
Absolutely. So really kind of reach out to us to discuss that, to get up to speed and really accelerate that. I had an interesting workshop with a group of another group of executive MBAs that did some work for me, and we discussed Gen AI. It was interesting to see there were two competitors in the defense space as participants, and one was actually not allowing ChatGPT, not at all, and the others were saying, yes, of course you can use it, and obviously under certain circumstances and rules and things like that. So you see kind of this dynamic already playing out. Another one, where we had this course with the MBA. One of the key questions which comes up a lot in conversations is really, so which one is the best tool, and do I have to stay up to date? And for me, kind of the answer is relatively simple. No, you keep it simple in a way that you actually pick your favorite tool and become really good at it. So it's more, if you look, for example, for any other sports. So the question, do you need new golf clubs? Well, no, become good with the other ones and then get the new ones. And that's very similar here. So the equipment, the tool, the software, the hardware only makes so much difference. And if you are not utilizing, for example, OpenAI, which we are using obviously a lot with ChatGPT 4, again, the paid version, if you are become really good at using that, use all the GPTs, which are included, all the other things, become good at prompting, and really get a lot of value out of that. And then you can deep dive and see what else you need. Not the other way around, saying, okay, now Anthropic is the best, so now I'm switching to Anthropic and see if I get better results. That's not the way to do it. So really learn the skills, experience the skills, work with us to get there, work with someone else, but get good at it, because it's not going away. It's like typing, it's like writing, it's like reading. This will be one of the fundamental skills how we operate with generative AI.
Absolutely. And Michael, actually, you were the one coming to my MBA class this week, and enlightening students from all around Asia and Europe in how to use generative AI for B2B marketing and marketing in general. And the question came exactly like you said, and which tools should we use? And Michael, what did you say?
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT, exactly. Get good in one tool, stick to it, because they will all advance over time with an amazing speed. As when you listen to our lives every week, you realize how quickly that develops. Contact us if you need speakers, like either in the academic environment or at your companies or organizations, and we can talk about the topic which is most relevant for you. And we also run a masterclass, Michael.
Yes, yeah. So especially for leaders, executives, yeah. So it's very pragmatic, hands-on. It's not technical, yeah. So you're not kind of more technical than it has to be. Obviously, some foundations are important, but it's really pragmatic. And with exercises, you can even tailor the exercises. Just send us a DM, and we'll share more details on that. And we would be excited to have you on board for that.
Great. So with that, also what we will, if you subscribe to the Beyond the Obvious on LinkedIn, you will get access to the latest articles and research we find for you. And we'll see you next week in our live again.